Every February, something happens to you that nobody has ever properly explained. You sleep 8 hours and wake up exhausted. You sit down to work and the thoughts won't come. You look at your to-do list and feel, beneath the ordinary tiredness, something heavier. A kind of hollowness, a sensation that your body is running on a fuel source that ran out weeks ago and hasn't been restocked. You probably have a name for it: the winter slump, the February wall. Some people call it seasonal depression. Some just call it laziness and leave the self-judgment sitting there unexamined through March. But in 2023, a research team at Charité Medical University in Berlin published a study in Frontiers in Neuroscience that reframed everything we thought we knew about winter and the human body. They brought 292 people into a sleep lab, not a survey, not a questionnaire. Actual polysomnography, electrodes, controlled conditions, the kind of data you cannot argue with. And they measured what happened to human sleep across every season of the year. What they found is the number I keep coming back to. In December, people slept 1 full hour longer than in June. Their REM sleep, the deepest, most restorative phase, lasted 30 minutes longer in winter than in spring. The time it took to reach REM sleep shortened by 25 minutes in autumn, as if the body was trying to get there faster, trying to take more of something it knew was running out. Lead researcher Dr. Dieter Kuhns described what happened to people who didn't get that extra hour. He called it, with a precision that felt almost personal, the sensation of running on empty in February or March. Not seasonal depression, not laziness, not a disorder, running on empty. As if the body had been allocated a certain amount of winter fuel, and modern life had found a way to spend it before it could be used. Here is what makes this finding impossible to dismiss as a modern anomaly. It isn't just lab subjects in Berlin. In 2015, researchers did something simple and devastating. They studied people who had never owned an alarm clock. The Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, a community in Bolivia. 3 groups on 3 different continents, living the way humans lived for most of history. Waking with light, sleeping with dark, with no quarterly review to be ready for in the morning. In every single group, the pattern was identical. Winter meant longer nights, longer sleep, later mornings. The body tracked the light it always had. So it isn't a German thing, cross that off. It isn't a modern sedentary lifestyle thing. The Hadza walk 8 to 12 miles a day, cross that off. Isn't a diet thing, a latitude thing, or a psychological thing. The pattern appears across every population studied, in every climate measured, in subjects who have never heard the phrase seasonal affective disorder, and would not understand why anyone needed a clinical name for the way winter feels. Which means there is only one conclusion left. Your body was designed to change with the seasons. Not slightly, not metaphorically, measurably, hormonally, neurologically. Your brain in December is running a different program than your brain in June. It needs more darkness, more sleep, more time in the restorative depths of REM. It is, in the most literal biological sense, preparing for something. Something that the modern world never lets it do. To understand what was taken from you, you have to understand what winter actually was. For almost all of human history, before artificial light, before heating, before the infrastructure that makes December feel like a slightly colder version of July. Winter was a season of biological withdrawal. Not depression, withdrawal. A deliberate, genetically encoded downshift in metabolism, in activity, in the demands placed on the nervous system. Hunter-gatherer groups across the northern hemisphere reduced activity levels by 30 to 40% in winter months. Not because they were unmotivated, because the body was conserving resources, consolidating memory, rebuilding the systems that summer had depleted. Sleep was the mechanism. Long, dark, REM-rich sleep was how the maintenance got done. Every animal on Earth that lives in a seasonal climate has a version of this. Bears hibernate, deer slow down. Even birds restructure their biology around the changing light. Humans were no different until 1812. 1 year, one invention, and a biological contract that had held for 300,000 years was broken without a single person being asked. In 1812, the widespread adoption of gaslighting in British factories changed something that had never been changed before in human history. For the first time, the night could be indefinitely extended. The winter darkness, which had always functioned as a biological signal, telling the body to slow down, sleep longer, conserve, became something to be overcome. Factories that had previously wound down in winter now ran continuous shifts through the darkest months of the year. By 1914, Henry Ford had formalized what the gas lamp had started. The 8-hour year-round shift, the same hours in December as in June, the same expectations in February as in August, became the template for how human time was organized. Schools modeled themselves on factories. Office culture modeled itself on schools. And within 2 generations, the idea that a person's productivity should remain constant across all 4 seasons was no longer a radical industrial imposition. It was just the way things worked. Your body never agreed to this. Every December, your melatonin cycle shifts. Your core body temperature drops earlier in the evening. Your brain begins producing the hormonal signals that, for 300,000 years, meant one thing. It is time to slow down, go inward, sleep longer, and let the maintenance crew do their work. And every December, your alarm goes off at the same time it did in July. Your morning meeting is scheduled for the same hour. Your deadlines have not moved. The school bus comes at the same time. The world continues at its fixed, seasonal blind pace. And your biology, which has been trying to tell you something important for months, gets louder and louder until it becomes impossible to ignore. That is the running on empty feeling. That is the February wall. Not a malfunction, not a weakness, not something to be treated or pushed through or apologized for. It is 300,000 years of biological programming, trying to do exactly what it was designed to do, in a world that was redesigned 200 years ago, without consulting a single human body. Dr. Coons, in his 2023 paper, did not mince his conclusion. He wrote that societies need to adjust sleep habits, including length and timing, to season, or adjust school and working schedules to match seasonal sleep needs. That paper was published in one of the most respected neuroscience journals in the world. Nothing changed. The school buses still come at the same time. The meetings are still at 9. And every February, millions of people wake up exhausted, stare at the ceiling in the early dark, and quietly decide that the problem is them. It was never them. It was a factory schedule, written in 1812, that has been running on your body ever since. And the only reason you've spent years calling it laziness, the only reason you've apologized for it, pushed through it, medicated it, is that the people who built that schedule never needed you to know the difference. They still don't.